Hi, everyone, and welcome. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're putting in all the effort in your relationships, really trying, but things still aren't working out quite the way you hoped? Or maybe you end up feeling kind of empty or confused, even when everyone means well?
That's a really common feeling, I think.
Well, let's get into why that might be happening. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something crucial. The role of self-love in building, healthy connections.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we often get taught, don't we, that love means sacrifice.
Right.
Like you have to endure things, give everything you've got.
Right. Sometimes even when it's clearly hurting us, we learn that the more you give away, the more loving you are.
And supposedly, the more love you'll get back.
Yeah.
But is that really how healthy love works?
Exactly. It makes you think. Carl Jung had this quote, "What you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you." It kind of makes you wonder, could what we often label as love actually be an unhealed part of ourselves just playing out?
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
And it brings up what healthy love even is. Because, self-love, it's not just a buzzword. It's way more than just like bubble baths or saying nice things to yourself.
It goes deeper.
Much deeper. It's a serious psychological, even spiritual practice.
And when that deeper self-love is missing, it seems to affect everything. It creates this disconnect, not just inside us, but it really colors all our relationships.
Yeah, it can lead to choices that don't really serve us, maybe tolerating things we shouldn't.
Leaving us feeling drained. So, our mission today for this deep dive is to figure out why looking for love out there often starts us off on the wrong foot and where we really need to begin.
Well, think about how we first learn about love. Usually it's external, right? Our parents, maybe friends, later partners. There's this sort of built-in idea that someone else should provide what's missing inside us.
Like we're looking for someone else to complete the puzzle.
That external search. But Jung, he offers a really different path with his idea of individuation.
Right, individuation. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. It's basically this essential journey inward. It's about becoming a complete person, whole, integrating all the bits, the stuff we like about ourselves, our light, but also the parts we'd rather ignore, the shadow, plus our history, our desires, even our contradictions, all of it.
And that integration that has to happen inside us, someone else can't do it for us.
Exactly. That's the key. It's an internal job. And this is where the problem often starts. So many of us jump into trying to love others, care for them, build relationships.
Without doing that internal work first.
Precisely. Without the self-discovery, without healing old wounds, without even seeing the barriers we've put up inside.
And then we end up repeating the same old patterns, right? Feeling the same kind of pain again and again.
It's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
And Jung's concept of the shadow is really critical here.
His shadow, those parts we push away.
Yeah, the unacknowledged bits. Things we repress or judge in ourselves. Maybe insecurity, maybe hidden anger, that deep fear of being left alone, or even a need for control we don't admit to.
Okay, so these aren't just dormant things. They actually affect our relationships.
Oh, absolutely. They're silently influencing our decisions, our reactions, everything. If we haven't faced our shadow, it can sort of steer us towards relationships that mirror our own unhealed stuff.
So we end up drawn to people who trigger our old issues.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
And that intense reaction. We might mistake it for, instant chemistry or some kind of irresistible pull.
That we just clicked feeling. But maybe it's just old wounds recognizing each other.
It can be, yeah. And without really knowing ourselves deeply, we tend to idealize others. We project onto them qualities we haven't owned in ourselves.
Like seeing their confidence because we feel insecure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe their sensitivity grabs us because we've shut down our own emotions. Or we crave their validation because we haven't learned to validate ourselves.
Wow. Okay, so that sets up that painful cycle you mentioned earlier.
It really does. We get attached based on these projections, these needs.
Yeah.
Then, trying to keep that idealized picture going, we kind of lose ourselves.
Yeah.
And inevitably, disappointment hits because, they're human, not our projection.
And the pattern repeats. Not because love failed, but because we went into it feeling incomplete.
Fundamentally incomplete, yeah.
Okay. So if looking outside ourselves is often a trap and the shadow is messing with our choices, how do we actually shift things? You mentioned self-love, but not the superficial kind.
Right. It's funny how self-love got a bit watered down. Like it's just about pampering or positive thinking without the real work. And those things aren't bad.
Yeah.
But real self-love, that's different.
It sounds harder.
It can be. Definitely. Real self-love demands honesty, like radical honesty with ourselves, looking at the wounds from childhood, seeing the patterns we keep repeating in relationships.
Oh.
Yeah. And accepting maybe how we've abandoned ourselves sometimes, not just feeling abandoned by others. It's about shifting from blaming others, blaming ourselves, to taking responsibility.
Responsibility not as guilt, but as power.
Exactly. Power to change things. Agency. And practically. It means setting boundaries, real boundaries, even if it means someone might not like it or you risk losing affection.
That's tough. The fear of rejection is strong.
It really is. But it's about prioritizing your well-being over that fear. It means stopping the chase, not pursuing people who don't really meet you halfway, valuing your inner peace more than being attached to something unhealthy.
That takes serious courage, especially if you fear being alone.
It does. It's a practice. But the payoff is huge. You start shifting from feeling like you're not enough to feeling self-sufficient, not needing that constant external okayness.
Because you're starting to give it to yourself.
Right. And then you become okay, genuinely okay if someone leaves. And interestingly, because you have that inner security, you start attracting different kinds of people, healthier connections.
You mentioned earlier that feeling of loving too much, giving everything until you're just empty. People almost wear it like a badge of honor sometimes.
But it's worth asking if that's really love. Often that feeling of loving too much isn't about abundance. It's about a wound crying out for attention.
So confusing intensity with connection.
Yeah, or drama with passion.
Yeah.
Mistaking someone paying attention to your pain for actual love, it often leads to dependency, not real connection.
So that drive to just give and give and give, even when it hurts us, might not be healthy love at its root.
Often not. And again, Jung's insight is key. We tend to repeat what we haven't healed. We gravitate towards what confirms our deepest beliefs about ourselves. If deep down we don't feel worthy,
we find people who treat us that way, proving our own negative belief right.
It's a subconscious trap. And that's why the first step towards healthier relationships isn't finding the perfect person out there. It's starting that journey inward.
Self-discovery.
Learning to give yourself what you've been looking for outside.
Yeah.
Becoming your own refuge, your own support system.
Okay, this idea of self-love as an internal revolution, doesn't that sound a bit, selfish? If you're focusing so much inward, what about connection with others?
That's a really common worry. But actually, genuine self-love, it brings freedom. Not selfishness. It gives you the strength to say no when you need to.
To reject what isn't right for you.
Exactly. To not settle. And it allows you to build connections that are authentic, based on respect and real care, not just need.
What about conflict? Does self-love mean relationships become perfectly smooth? No disagreements.
Definitely not. Conflict is normal. It's often how relationships grow. But how you handle it changes completely when you come from a place of self-love.
How so?
Your motivation shifts. It's not about fear of loss, fear of being alone. It's about wanting to understand, wanting to build something better. You can communicate more openly, take shared responsibility. You don't need the other person to fix your internal stuff.
So it changes the way you navigate the rough patches.
Absolutely. Self-love brings discernment, clarity. You can see situations more clearly, detach from destructive patterns more easily, and you really start to internalize that you deserve respect, depth, real love.
You talked about becoming more whole, integrating all those parts of ourselves. How does that practically change how we show up in relationships?
Well, imagine getting to that place of greater self-acceptance where you're actively working with all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, the way you choose partners, the way you interact. It changes profoundly.
You become more selective.
More selective, yes, but not in an arrogant way. It's more like you know your worth, so you're just not willing to settle for dynamics that diminish you. You value authenticity.
So less game playing.
Definitely. More honesty, more directness. You're focused on building something real, choosing consciously, not feeling like you have to beg for scraps of attention or affection.
It sounds like moving from a place of lack to a place of choice.
That's exactly it. Choice and empowerment. And from that place of inner wholeness, you can actually experience a kind of free love.
Free love. What do you mean by that?
Meaning you can give love, be vulnerable, connect deeply, but without losing yourself. Without sacrificing your dignity or your boundaries. You can feel passion without it becoming an addiction.
You stay grounded in yourself even while connecting.
Yes. The real transformation is when you're so connected to your own center that you don't need to lose yourself in someone else just to feel alive or whole.
This all sounds incredibly transformative, but also not easy. You mentioned facing pain.
Yeah, we have to be honest about that. This journey does involve facing pain, letting go of the fantasy that someone else will rescue you. That can be painful.
Grieving those romantic ideals.
Grieving ideals, maybe mourning the times you betrayed your own needs, and just honestly facing yourself. All of it. It's not always comfortable.
So the pain isn't a sign you're doing it wrong.
Not at all. Think of pain as a teacher. It's showing you exactly where you need to direct your attention. It's guiding you back home to yourself. Jung talked about how the soul actually needs conflict to grow.
So leaning into the discomfort.
Consciously, yes. Suffering, when we really face it and try to understand it, transforms into wisdom. The invitation is to listen to the pain. What's its message? What key might it hold?
It really does keep coming back to that relationship with ourselves, doesn't it?
It's the foundation. It's the one relationship that's always there from beginning to end. It underlies everything else. How is that internal relationship going?
Meaning, how do we talk to ourselves, treat ourselves?
Exactly. Especially when things get tough. Do you beat yourself up? Or do you offer yourself the same kindness you might offer a friend?
That's a powerful question. It's so easy to be our own worst critic.
It is. But that inner climate harshness, judgment, it spills out into our external relationships. Just like self-compassion and inner kindness also radiate outward. And remember, it's about progress, not perfection.
Accepting we're a work in progress.
Allowing ourselves to grow, make mistakes, start again. Self-love. It's the one love no one can take from you. And ultimately, it determines how much and what kind of love you allow yourself to receive from others.
So for anyone listening now, feeling like this resonates, maybe seeing these patterns, what's the first step? Where do they begin?
The most powerful first step is simply deciding to begin within. Just making that conscious choice to turn your focus inward, gently.
Let go of the external search for a bit.
Yeah. Start building what you need inside. Take responsibility for your story. Not with blame, remember, but with the intention of freeing yourself through understanding.
It sounds like an act of courage.
It absolutely is. Self-love is courage in action. It's the foundation for all real change and definitely for building healthier, more conscious, lasting relationships.
That's a really hopeful message.
Maybe, as a closing thought, you listening could just take a moment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Maybe gently repeat this inwardly. I choose to know myself. I choose to heal myself. I choose to love myself. And from there, from that place, I choose who accompanies me. Because truly, only when you choose yourself fully can you really choose others well.
Thank you. That's beautifully put. And thank you for joining us for this deep dive today.
My pleasure.
If you found this conversation valuable, please do subscribe to the channel Jungian You Psychology for Change so you don't miss out on future explorations.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate you tuning in. See you in the next episode.